What an honor to be here today in front of a distinguished and aspiring group of scientists, technologists, engineers, and mathematicians. And just a heads up, I'm not qualified to be here or talk to you. I'm just gonna say it like it is. I have a degree in theater. Any thespians? A few, but not the entire group. Any lesbians? No. Okay, that's fine. Fine. I'm used to taking conceptual leaps of faith. It's my vocation. I create and jump into unknown worlds. Yeah, it's terrifying. Thanks for asking. But it's the only thing I'm trained to do. It's actually the foundation for my career in theater. It's the first thing you learn at theater school. It's called suspension of disbelief. And a gentleman by the name of Samuel Taylor Coleridge came up with this idea in the early 1800s. He was a poet and philosopher, and the idea is that when we go to theater or we read a poem or we read fiction, that we collectively agree to let go of everything we know to be true about the world around us, all assumptions and perceptions, and we take a gigantic poetic leap of faith into the unknown. And that's how I landed a job in a museum. It's true. I know what you're thinking. Tania, least likely person to get hired by a museum, most likely to get kicked out of a museum. And you'd be right on both accounts. So thank you for being right. I appreciate it. But this was a really compelling and totally unique proposition that was too delicious to pass up. See, there was a director at the Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art years ago, and his name was Tim Rogers. And Tim had this idea, and the idea was to take a space within the museum and make it a blank slate, a clear canvas, so that we could activate it with people talking or drinking or having conversations or dancing or who knew what. But basically, it was a space within the museum that broke all the rules of the museum. How radical is that? Very. That was not rhetorical, that was interactive. Okay. So he was looking for like a rule-breaking outsider to bring in other outsiders to the museum, right? To activate this beautiful and fresh and open space. And that's how I got the job, because I'm a rule-breaking outsider. That's my only qualifications for the job, and a few more things. And I remember starting the first day of work at the museum, and Tim is this tall, bald man with a strong chin and those 1950s science teacher glasses. And he introduced me around like a proud father of a juvenile delinquent daughter that he had sprung from juvie earlier that day. And he was going to foist me upon unsuspecting curator, and he loved it. He was titillated by the whole thing. And so he literally marched me around to all the offices of these sophisticated curators and staff, and their doors were open. And by doors open, I don't mean that as a metaphor, because they weren't happy to see me. It wasn't like open arms. It was just like the door was open. That was it. And he marched me around, and he literally introduced me like this. This is Tania Katan. We've brought her to the museum because she's an activist. This is Tania Katan. We've brought her to the museum because she writes and performs racy stories. This is Tania Katan. She's a disruptor. This is Tania Katan. She thinks outside of the box, and that's why we need her in the museum. And then he showed me to my office, which was a cubicle. For real. Like it's like this, like 2.5 feet by 3 feet. What? So I was in my little space, and I did what any good theater practitioner would do when the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune were hitting her in the face. I launched into a soliloquy. A soliloquy, for those of you who don't know, is like it's when I talk to myself aloud. because I'm a crazy person. Okay, and so I'm in my cubicle and I'm like, oh my gosh, Tania, how are you gonna create these like innovative, disruptive, awesome programs in this beautiful, empty space if you are trapped in this teeny tiny, squalid cubicle? And isn't it ironic, like you're in a cube inside of a larger cube? That is so meta, like that is weird. And I'm like, and then I looked up for some weird reason, and I made the most amazing discovery. Cubicles do not have ceilings. And when there are no ceilings, there are no limits. So I hit the ground running, and I started my first program, which was called Out of the Cubicle. I hired a videographer, and we literally snuck out of my cubicle once a week to make these totally irreverent, celebratory videos about the very art institution I worked for. What? Let me just tell you, I think I redefined performance review for everyone. It was wild. And what was more wild and amazing is that not only did we get more outsiders into the museum, from Scottsdale, from Arizona, but from California, from Ohio, from Iceland, from France. People came into the museum through the internet, through the videos. That was exciting, and of course, Tim was just like, see, I told you. And so I was like, okay, now how do I activate the live space? I mean, this is kind of a big to-do. How do I break the rules of a museum? What? No, forget it. Let's not stop at museum. How do I break the rules of the art world? Because the art world is that ominous sometimes, right? I mean, like, the very foundation for the art world is like, oh, if I have a lot of money, I can acquire art. And oh, if I don't, I can't. That ain't fair, right? So I'm like, how do we democratize the acquisition of art, right? And then I'm like, arm wrestling. That's how we do it. It made so much sense. I'm not kidding. So I literally took part of my budget, hopefully the museum was not audited that year, and bought an arm wrestling table. And I plunked the table in the middle of the museum. And people came, community members came, hundreds of them, and they trash talked and threw down, all to win a piece of art by famous contemporary artists. I was lucky enough to know some and asked for donations, and so people literally won pieces by artists like Mame Kratz, Angela Ellsworth, and Eric Fischl. Yeah, I said it, Eric Fischl. Look him up later. If you don't know him, you'll freak out. Okay, so everybody was really excited. The programs were going swimmingly well. Outsiders were coming in. Everything was great. I was about 3 years into developing these new audiences, new streams of money, new everything. And people were excited about the new energy in the museum. And then I got a phone call from a really cool tech company. And they're like, Tania, we've been watching you and we'd like to speak with you about software. And I'm like, that sounds awesome. I know nothing about software. So it seemed like a smart thing to do. So I knew that they were a cool company. Their name is Axosoft because I had actually given a talk about creativity in the workspace a few months earlier at Axosoft. And the employees there were so eager, they were good listeners, they asked great questions, and so I thought, okay, let's check out what software is. I literally had at the time, are you familiar with the iPhone 1? I think it's called a flip phone. It went like that. So I went in to meet with the CEO of Axosoft, and she is like this petite, very direct firecracker of a human being. Her name is Laudan Shojai, and she's like, we brought you in because we really like your energy. And I'm like, I came in because I really like your energy. And she's like, but we're not offering you a job. And I'm like, I don't need a job. And she's like, but you know, we've always wanted to hire an evangelist. You'd make a great evangelist. And I'm like, an evangelist? An evangelist? Yes! That will freak my Jewish mom out. I would love to evangelize with you. And so I took this leap of faith into the tech world with no prior experience of technology or interest at all. And I landed at Axosoft. And within my first week, I'm like, okay, Laudan, so tell me about this really cool software that I'm going to evangelize about. And she's like, oh, well, it's an agile project management software for software developers, SaaS, B2B. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm in a time warp because I don't understand what you're saying. Why did I take this job? Help me. Thank goodness she said B2B. That I understood. That's when you take one of your bedrooms and convert it into a charming hotel. B2B. Oh. I was stuck, and why did I do this? Fortunately, however, I started to learn about this software and the methodology behind the software and the culture at this place. And all three were like this stew of collaboration, iteration, flexibility. I mean, the software and the culture played with notions of time and space. Basically, we empowered people to see the ordinary as extraordinary. I understood that. That's what we do in theater. I totally got it. And so I'm getting my stride on, and I'm starting to make all of these delightful connections between the arts and technology and the business space. And just like, when am I going to go speak and evangelize in front of the humans? I can't wait. And then Laudan approached my colleague, Sarah Breeding, and me, and she says, we are going to sponsor a big women in technology event, and I want to show up in a big way. So come up with a big idea. Okay, there's nothing that gets your creative juices flowing like a pushy boss. What? So Sarah and I started brainstorming or ideating, whatever the kids are saying these days, and we came up with nothing. And so I went for a walk, and I love walking. It's part of my creative practice. And I'm walking, and I'm thinking about women in technology, about women in the tech space, about women in every space, and how often we're not seen, heard, or celebrated for the superheroes we are. And I'm thinking about theater, and I'm wondering, what if we could take principles of theater and weave them in and out of technology? I mean, what if we could suspend disbelief and jump into a world where women got paid as much as their male counterparts? And what if we could leap into a space where women made up 50% of C-level positions? And what if we could land in a classroom where a 12-year-old girl takes a coding class because she sees herself in the female teacher, because she sees herself in the girl sitting next to her, because she sees herself, and saw a symbol in my mind's eye on that walk. And I knew that this symbol could cross cultures and genders and be easily recognizable to everyone. So I ran back to the office, and I brought the symbol with me, and I'm like, Sarah, I've got a symbol. She's like, okay, cool. And I'm like, okay, but I think that she's wearing a cape. And she's like, okay. And so I went and I printed out the women's bathroom symbol. And I took a pen, and literally with about 5 strokes, she was right there. She revealed herself to Sarah and me. She'd been there this whole time. We'd just been looking at her back, when really in front she was wearing a cape. And Sarah said, oh my gosh, it was never addressed. And I'm like, oh, that's it. And so we launched the It Was Never Addressed campaign. And by launching a campaign, I mean we just had a bunch of stickers and a booth at the Girls in Technology conference. And I gave a talk about It Was Never Addressed, which was basically just an idea, sort of a proposition for people to have conversations about gender equity, about how they see everyday space. And that was it. And the people at the conference went nuts, grabbed the sticker, started conversations. And one person posted the sticker on Twitter and wrote, "Cannot unsee." And that took the campaign into the stratosphere. Every major media outlet in the world picked it up. CNN, Time, New York Times, India Times, it was everywhere. Over 18 million organic impressions were received in 24 hours. Insane. So we got on the horn. We started a scholarship for need-based students going into STEAM fields. STEAM for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. We put the A in for the arts. We put the A in STEM for arts. We put the A in for the arts. We could have put the A in for Aristotle, because years ago, when I was studying theater, Aristotle actually predicted that I would be standing here today speaking to you. He said, "When your talents and the needs of the world cross, therein lies your vocation." And I'm pretty sure that what the world needs is more of us rule-breaking outsiders, more of us activists, us artists, us disruptors. And it also needs more risk-taking insiders like Tim, like Laudan, inviting us in so we can create and jump into unknown worlds together. Thank you.